Why did you kill my baby? You ain't got a reason. Mother, you're gonna die in prison.
You trying to get away from you, man. And you kept shooting him while his back was under the truck. You kept shooting him, man.
This thing's so hard.
Kill my daughter. And you kept shooting him while his back was under the truck. You kept shooting him.
This is 26-year-old Lukace Kendle, who was facing murder charges in Miami, Florida. In 2012, while working as a security guard at Club Lex, Kendle spotted two men taking drugs in the parking lot. The 26-year-old approached them, and a confrontation took place. Kendle then unleashed a barrage of bullets on the two black men, killing 29-year-old Dezman Brown and severely injuring his friend Michael Smathers, which left him permanently paralyzed from the waist down. Kendle was arrested and charged with second-degree murder and attempted murder. To evaluate his competency, Kendle was moved from the prison to a mental hospital, and his lawyer wanted to keep him there.
And then the issue is that you want him housed where?
At the same facility he's been housed.
In order to prevent him from decompensating?
He eventually decompensated to the point where he was sitting in a fetal position, naked, not eating, and not interacting with any human being.
This is when things got crazy.
Yeah, but my son is dead, man. My son is dead. He needs to go to prison. He don't need to be laying no mental hospital. He need to go to prison, man. Come on, sir. He want to play crazy. He wasn't crazy when he killed my son, man. He wasn't crazy then, but he crazy now. All of a sudden he crazy now. You want to lay in a mental hospital?
The request to prevent Kendle from returning to jail became too much for the victim's father, Donald Byrd.
You done murdered my son, man, for nothing? When he was trying to get away from you. You were trying to get away from you, man. And you kept shooting him while his back was under the truck. You kept shooting him, man. You kept shooting him in his back. His back was turned to you, man. He was trying to get away from you. And you murdered him, man, like that. You murdered him, man, like that. Why you doing it like that, man? And you want to play crazy, man. He ain't crazy. He ain't crazy, man.
The distraught father was escorted out of the courtroom, and Kendle was eventually deemed competent to stand trial.
Well, the first thing we needed to address is he's been restored to competency.
Correct, Your Honor. There are two evaluations from Dr. Luis Quintana and Dr. Richardson. They both find that he's competent.
Kendle told the court he didn't want a lawyer and decided to represent himself.
How is it that you expect to represent yourself?
I'm not going to represent myself. I refuse to participate in the charade.
I would advise you to do things the easy way. You wanted a trial.
I don't want a trial. This is a charade.
Okay.
At his trial, Kendle attempted to use Florida's Stand Your Ground statute as his defense.
Trajectory coming from outside the vehicle would have to come in that downward.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you're referring to.
But it failed to convince the jury, as Kendle was ultimately convicted of all charges and sentenced to life in prison without any chance of parole. While Lukace Kendle faced a grieving father's fury, what happens when a victim's mother threatens to kill the defendant?
I would kill you. You killed my daughter.
Like in the case of Dennis Alsip, who was on trial for causing a deadly crash while driving under the influence in Cincinnati, Ohio. On July 16, 2012, 22-year-old Lisa Hastings was on her way to work when her car was hit head-on by an SUV, driven by 19-year-old Dennis Alsip, who was allegedly under the influence of drugs and alcohol. During the crash, the SUV landed on Lisa's car, which left the EMT nurse critically injured. Lisa spent 2 days on life support in the hospital. Tragically, she died from her injuries. Alsip was charged and eventually convicted of aggravated vehicular homicide, whose maximum punishment is just 8 years in prison. Grieving family members and friends filled the courtroom during sentencing, including Lisa's mother, Karen Hastings, as Alsip took the stand in apology.
I cannot ever imagine the pain that my family is going. I just ask that you understand how sorry I really am, how bad I feel.
But the distraught mother was having none of it.
And when you were asked, do you know what you just did? And you said, no. This is what you did. She didn't ask for this. You should have been you. Would be an idiot, kill yourself. And this is where she is now. That's in cemetery. It's her at the grave. That's where I go on her her birthday and Christmas because of you. You're not sorry.
Later, during her impact statement, Karen tore into the teenager who was responsible for her daughter's death.
I gave her life, and you ended it. I hate you. I have wishes for you, and I hope they all come true. I wish you have a painful, miserable life. I wish you nothing but bad luck and bad health. I wish Judge Allen would say to me, there he is. Do whatever you want. I would kill you. You killed my daughter. I wish that you don't see your 22nd birthday. Your mother is the one that should be going to the cemetery, not me, for your birthday. My beautiful daughter Lisa is going to spend eternity in heaven. And you are going to spend eternity in hell. Burn, you piece of shit.
Ultimately, Dennis Alsip was sentenced to 8 years in prison for the drunk driving crash that killed Lisa Hastings, while a mother condemned her daughter's killer. What happens when a grieving father attacks the defendant? Like in the case of Desean Brown, who's facing trial for double murder in Hamilton County, Ohio. In December 2020, Brown reportedly stabbed and killed his then-girlfriend, 29-year-old Tristan Lamoreaux, at an apartment on Melrose Avenue. He later dumped her body near the Purple People Bridge and threw her 3-year-old son, Nilo, into the Ohio River alive. Baby Nilo's body was never found. Brown was arrested and charged with aggravated murder, tampering with evidence, and gross abuse of a corpse. Nitisha's father and the child's grandfather said Brown deserved no mercy for his actions.
Vashon Brown deserves nothing less than the death penalty. That's exactly what you deserve. No mercy at all.
Facing the death penalty, Brown appeared in court, where the father of the toddler, Tonio Hughes, decided to take matters in. During the hearing, Hughes was sitting at the back of the courtroom wearing all black. As the proceedings were wrapping up, Hughes sneaked up to the defendant and repeatedly punched him in the head. 2 deputies wrestled him to the ground, but Hughes was not done yet. It took half a dozen deputies to get a hold of the aggrieved father. Finally, Hughes was restrained and removed from the courtroom. He later served 4 days in prison for contempt of court. As for Brown, he's set to go to trial in 2025. While Desean Brown faced the wrath of a victim's father, how does it compare to facing the fury of a grieving mother?
You ain't got a reason! You're gonna die in prison!
Like in the case of 22-year-old Andy Gonzalez, who was on trial for murder in Kent County, Michigan. Gonzalez was accused of shooting 2 people in broad daylight outside a salon in Grand Rapids. Police said Gonzalez walked up to 2 men and, after an altercation took place, opened fire, injuring one and killing 23-year-old DeAndre Tyrelle Bullis. A day later, Gonzalez was identified, arrested, and charged with murder and attempted murder. After a 4-day trial, Gonzalez was eventually found guilty of second-degree murder. Now at his sentencing, Bullis' girlfriend Sandra Bravo directly addresses the man who murdered the father of her 2 young sons.
You're a coward, and you know if you would have fought him that day, he would have beat your ass. And you couldn't take that ass whooping, so you decided to kill him. You decided to go get a gun and kill him, because you don't have the balls to fight like a man. You had to come back around and kill him, because you know he would have whooped your ass. You took my kid's dad from him. Now they have to grow up for the rest of their life without their dad, and he was a good-ass dad. He spent every single second caring for them and loving them. Yeah. And now they have to go on without him, and I have to go on without him and raise my 2 boys without their daddy. You don't even know what it's like to be a father. You're just stupid. Yeah. You killed him for no reason. You had no right. And I hope you rot in hell in prison for the rest of your damn life. I hope you get exactly what you deserve in prison, and you know what's gonna happen to you when you go to prison. God forgive me, but I hate you. Yeah. And I hope you rot in hell for the rest of your life.
Next, the victim's distraught mother, Sylvia Villarreal, took the stand and tore into her son's killer.
Your mom's gonna suffer too. My grandsons have to live the rest of their life without their dad. They didn't even have a dad growing up. So thank you. Thank you for what you did. Because you ruined my life, you ruined their lives, and you ruined your family lives. Because he didn't need no gun to kill nobody. He could have beat your ass up and down the street, you and the clowns that you hang out with. Now my baby's dead. So you're happy. Thank you. Because I'm happy too. Because yeah, his body is dead, but his spirit lives on. And I know he's standing right here laughing at you. That's why you killed him, right? Because he laughed at you? Because you're a bitch. You're a coward. You already know how life is in prison. And you think you're going to just be happy-go-lucky? Nah, mother. You're going to suffer for the rest of your life, bent over with your mouth open, being everybody's bitch for the rest of your life.
Emotions in the courtroom ran at an all-time high, so the judge had to step in.
Why did you kill my baby? You ain't got a reason. Mother, you're going to die in prison.
Ma'am.
I know.
I think you need to calm down at this point.
I know.
Okay?
But I have to live the rest of my life without my son. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry to you. Because you got what you cut. Green light on you. Ain't that what they said? Ain't that what you heard? Good. And I hope you suffer for the rest of your life.
Ultimately, Andy Gonzalez was sentenced to 67 to 102 years. But later, an appeals court vacated the lengthy sentence and resentenced Gonzalez to 35 to 52 and a half years in prison. While Andy Gonzalez faced the wrath of a mother in mourning, what happens when a father punches the defendant? Like in the case of Lindy Jones, who was accused of murdering a teenager in Orangeburg County, South Carolina. In August 2019, Jones and his brother Jay Lynn reportedly shot 18-year-old Willie Fields Jr. multiple times and killed him near their house on Rosewood Drive. Jay Lynn, who was a minor at the time, pleaded guilty to accessory after the fact and was sentenced to 6 years in a juvenile facility. As for Jones, the 19-year-old later pleaded guilty to more serious charges of murder and possession of a weapon. During sentencing, the victim's mother spoke emotionally, with the victim's father, Willie Fields Sr., standing in support.
Your Honor, I just want to let you know just what they took from me. They took away my only child. And it's been so hard.
Eventually, it became too much for the grieving father. Fields Sr. charged towards his son's killer and hit him with a well-placed punch, knocking the defendant to the ground. As Jones collapsed, Fields Sr. continued to deliver blows. Deputies rushed over and pulled him away. Jones tried to get one back, but was quickly apprehended. Fields Sr. later faced assault and battery charges. As for Jones, he was ultimately sentenced to 35 years in prison for the murder of Willie Fields Jr. While Lindy Jones got a fistful of justice delivered, what happens when a defendant gets attacked by his own son? Like in the case of Vashon Flowers, who was on trial for murder in Muskegon County, Michigan. In May 2019, Flowers allegedly shot and killed his wife Jamie at their Muskegon Heights home after the two had an argument over cigarettes. Initially, the couple fought for more than a day, after which police arrived and separated the two. Flowers left, but hours later he returned, kicked in the door, and shot Jamie 4 times. The 46-year-old then turned himself in and was charged with open murder. Jamie's daughter, Paris, who witnessed the whole incident, testified in court.
He got down on the ground and started choking my mother. Actually, I heard, "You don't have to do this, Vashon. Please don't do this. You don't have to do this." And then I heard gunshots.
Do you recall how many you heard?
4. I got up and I left out of the room. She was sitting straight up against the wall.
Did you observe some blood?
Yes, on her shirt. Gunshots, bullet holes in her shirt, and blood.
But it was Jamie's son who decided to take matters into his own hands. During a hearing, 21-year-old Lindy Jones was seated in the gallery with the rest of his siblings, and suddenly he leaped over the barricade and headed straight towards his mother's killer. Eventually, the grieving son was restrained and removed from the courtroom. Ultimately, Flowers was convicted of Jamie's murder and sentenced to life in prison. While Vashon Flowers faced his son's fury, what happens when a father charges at a teenage defendant? Like in the case of 18-year-old Payton Gendron, who was accused of multiple murders in Buffalo, New York. On May 14, 2022, Gendron carried out a mass shooting at the Tops Friendly Markets on the east side of Buffalo. He live-streamed part of the attack on Twitch, a video streaming platform. Upon reaching his destination, Gendron can be heard saying, "Just gotta go for it," and "This is the end." Gendron then opened fire on the early morning shoppers. 10 people lost their lives, and a further 3 were injured. All the victims were African Americans.
We have bodies down here. Also, we're going to need some officers inside the Tops because we have numerous bodies and we have magazines and bullets and everything.
Twitch shut down the live stream within minutes, but the damage was already done. The world had glimpsed the horror unfolding in real time. When police arrived, Gendron surrendered without any resistance.
Oh my God. Wow.
He a terrorist or something.
Yo, he shot so many people in there. Wow. Yo. Wow.
Gendron was charged with 26 counts of hate crime resulting in death, hate crime involving bodily injury and attempt to kill, and use of a firearm to commit murder.
To see that sense of security shattered by an individual, a white supremacist who has engaged in an act of terrorism and will be prosecuted as such.
In court, the prosecution argued that Gendron had tried to start a race war.
He drove over 200 miles out of his way with one mission, with one goal, to kill as many black people as possible. During that 3-hour drive, he could have turned around, but he wouldn't be deterred. He was steadfast to accomplish his goal of killing as many black people as possible and starting a race war.
They also said Gendron targeted the area, which is predominantly a black neighborhood. Gendron also canvassed the area and made drawings of the supermarket before the attack. 2 days before the attack, Gendron posted online a 180-page manifesto that described his motives and showed his support for white supremacism. The assault rifle used by Gendron was also littered with racist slurs and names of individuals who had previously carried out similar attacks. Eventually, Gendron pleaded guilty to all charges related to murder, domestic terrorism, and hate crimes. At his sentencing, emotionally charged family members of the victims directly addressed their loved one's killer.
We find strength in knowing that her legacy will outlive you. You will simply go from a name to a number. You will be herded like cattle. You will be shut away from the world. You will not enjoy family events. You will not enjoy outings with friends. You will be nameless and faceless, and we feel sorry for you. We pity you even. Your life was meaningless before May 14th, 2022, and you woke up every day feeling small.
I wish they keep you alive, so you have to suffer with the thought of what you did for the rest of your life.
And trust me and believe, these dudes can't stop me, really. I'm the littlest thing in here and very agile, but I don't want to hurt you.
However, one family member decided to take matters into his own hands.
We don't know a damn thing about black people. We're human. We like our kids to go to good schools. We love our kids. We never go in no neighborhood to take their flowers. Don't do it.
As the woman addressed Gendron, the man charged at the defendant, but was quickly detained and escorted out of the courtroom. Gendron was later given a chance to address the court, where he showed remorse and apologized to the victims' families.
I'm very sorry for stealing the lives of your loved ones. I cannot express how much I regret all the decisions I made leading up to my actions on May 14th. I did a terrible thing that day. I shot and killed people because they were black. Looking back now, I can't believe I actually did it. I believed what I read online and acted out of hate. I know I can't take it back, but I wish I could. And I don't want anyone to be inspired by me and what I did.
But the judge showed him no mercy.
There is no place for you
or your ignorant, hateful, and evil ideologies in a civilized society. There can be no mercy for you, no understanding, no second chances. The damage you have caused is too great, and the people you have hurt are too valuable to this community. You will never see the light of day as a free man ever again. It is the judgment of this court for your conviction under the first count of the indictment, a domestic act of terrorism motivated by hate in the first degree, an A1 felony, that you be sentenced to life imprisonment without parole.
Ultimately, Gendron was sentenced to life in prison without any hope for parole. While a grieving family member almost had his hands on the defendant, what happens when parents confront a child murderer? Like in the case of Jesse Outley, who was on trial for a road rage incident that led to the death of a baby in Syracuse, New York. In April 2021, 11-month-old Dior Harris was shot and murdered in a drive-by shooting while still buckled in her car seat. Her two cousins, aged 4 and 8, were also wounded. Police said the car Harris was in sideswiped the shooter's car, which chased them and subsequently opened fire 5 times, 3 of which hit the toddler. 2 years later, the getaway driver of the suspect's car was identified as 27-year-old Chavez Ocasio, who pleaded guilty to attempted murder in the second degree and criminal possession of a weapon. Ocasio's arrest led police to the shooter, later identified as 26-year-old Jesse Outley. Outley was charged with murder, 3 counts of attempted murder, and 2 counts of criminal possession of a weapon. Outley's trial was long and emotional, including regular altercations between the victim and the defendant's families, to frequent courtroom outbursts from the baby's father, Shaquille Harris.
You took my baby from me, you sucker, bro. Word boy, you took my daughter from me, bro. You took my baby from me, man. You copping out the 15 years, bro. You getting 15 years for taking my daughter from me, bro.
It reached a point where Judge Gordon Cuffey often had to reach for his gavel.
I would never forgive you for that shit, bro. Swear to God, bro. I would never ever, bro.
After both sides presented their cases, the jury reached a unanimous verdict, and Outley was convicted on all counts. Then, during sentencing, Shaquille Harris confronted the man who killed his infant daughter.
You got this picture on my shirt, bro. You took her from me. You's a fucking clown, bro. When you walk top me, your ass is done. You see her, bro? Dior, you took her from me, bro. You don't understand, because it's not you. If you had kids, you understand, man. You understand, yo. 4 days before, 15 days before our first birthday, man, this fucking clown took her away because they want to shoot up the wrong car, man.
Desiree Seymour, baby Dior's mother, also joined in. Until it became too much for the distraught mother. Ultimately, Jesse Outley was sentenced to 40 years to life in state prison for the death of baby Dior, while his getaway driver Chavez Ocasio was sentenced to 15 years behind bars. While a parent's grief took over a murder trial, what happens when an all-out brawl breaks out in the courtroom? Like in the case of Frank DeLeon, who was on trial for his teenage girlfriend's murder in Houston, Texas. DeLeon was just 17 when he allegedly shot and murdered 16-year-old Diamond Alvarez and left her body in a park. Police said the teenager was shot 22 times in the chest and back. DeLeon was arrested and charged with first-degree intentional homicide. To avoid a trial, he decided to take a plea deal. At his sentencing, tensions ran high between the victims and the defendant. As his mother, Ana Machado, tried to confront her daughter's killer, all hell broke loose. A t-shirt flashed across the courtroom. It was Alvarez's uncle, who seized on the distraction, jumped in, and punched the defendant in the face. As the situation went out of control, the judge made a run for it. The chaos continued. Now it was DeLeon's mom who ran to her son's defense. Then another woman ran over, tackled Deleon's mom to the ground and unleashed a flurry of blows. Finally, deputies were able to gain control of the courtroom. Machado later apologized for her courtroom outburst.
It was wrong of me. That was wrong of us because we're not monsters. But it's so much hate because I want my daughter back. And what he did it was horrible. Seeing my daughter there and looking at him that he did that and he's laughing in my face. It was very wrong and I'm so sorry for that.
The brawl also led to the escape of another defendant in a separate case. Michael Devin Combs took advantage of the chaos and slipped out of the holding area.
Some kind of way he got out of the shackles and he walked out of the courtroom, and once he got out of the building, he took off his ankle monitor.
Ultimately, Frank DeLeon was sentenced to 45 years in prison as part of his plea agreement. He will have to serve at least half his sentence before being eligible for parole. While a murder trial turned into a free-for-all, what happens when a victim's brother charges at the defendant? Like in the case of Tristan Lamoreaux, who is facing murder charges in Cedar City, Utah. In 2009, Lamoreaux reportedly shot his wife, 19-year-old Misty, several times in the head, instantly killing her. When police arrived, they found Misty's body in the bathroom and arrested Lamoreaux after he tried to flee the scene. Instead of going to trial, the 24-year-old pleaded guilty to first-degree murder. Now at his sentencing, Misty's brother Jason Wilson was called to the podium to deliver his victim impact statement. The situation became more and more tense as Wilson spoke about the impact his sister's murder had on his family. An emotional Wilson then turned his attention towards the defendant, even making a step towards him. The court bailiffs cautiously stepped in after sensing Wilson becoming increasingly overcome with emotion. But the grieving brother had other ideas. As the bailiffs approached him, Wilson ran behind the attorney's table and tried to take a swing at Lamoreaux. But before he could reach the defendant, the bailiffs sprang into action and tackled both Wilson and Lamoreaux to the ground. Wilson was restrained and removed from the courtroom. He faced no additional charges. After the dust settled, the courtroom was put back in order and the sentencing continued. Eventually, Lamoreaux was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison for killing his wife. While Tristan Lamoreaux felt a grieving brother's fury, how does it compare to getting punched by the victim's brother? Like in the case of 33-year-old Jeffery Clark, who's facing first-degree premeditated murder charges in Fraser, Michigan. On July 4th, 2022, Clark shot and killed 28-year-old Jymario Robertson in execution style after chasing him down an apartment complex parking lot.
This was an execution. Just wasn't a murder, an execution. The man was pleading for his life.
A doorbell camera captured the moment Robertson was shot.
As the victim runs for his life, he's now in the city of Fraser.
Clark was arrested after an ankle monitor he was wearing placed him at the crime scene.
Your Honor, at the time, the defendant had a tether on his ankle. We do have the tether records that place him at that location at that time.
At his trial, Clark's girlfriend testified that the defendant threatened her after the shooting.
He proceeded to tell me that he would kill me if I told on him. He told me exactly what he did to Mr. Robertson. He told me that Mr. Robertson begged for his life and that the only thing he was worried about was that he was on tether.
But when the prosecution played a video showing the judge and family members how Robertson was executed, the courtroom exploded.
Man, they gonna see you.
Sitting in the gallery watching his brother beg for his life was Robertson's twin, Jerry, who got into a brawl with the defendant. Jerry also clashed with Clark's father, who was upset his killer son got punched.
You don't hit, you hit him. Man, he killed us. Put him in the
After order was restored, Clark was convicted of first-degree murder, felony firearm, and felon in possession of a firearm. He was sentenced to life in prison with no hope for parole. While Jeffery Clark was punched by his victim's twin brother, what happens when a child confronts her mother's killers?
And why have you not said you're sorry for taking my mommy away from me?
Like in the case of Derrick Williams, Lamar McKnight, and Darnell Houston, who were on trial for murder in Los Angeles, California. On Christmas Day 2010, the three murdered 25-year-old Kashmir James in the South Los Angeles area in a suspected gangland execution. James was shot 9 times as she was leaving a friend's house. Her 3-year-old daughter, Nevaeh, witnessed the whole incident. Fellow gang members testified against the gunmen in court. The three were eventually convicted of first-degree murder and attempted murder with gang and gun allegations. During sentencing, distraught family members took the stand and directly addressed their loved one's killers.
You sat here every day that you came in here and you smiled. Now, nobody showed no remorse for what you did, even if you did feel guilty about it.
Among them was young Nevaeh, now 8 years old, who gave a gut-wrenching impact statement.
And why have you not said you're sorry for taking my mommy away from me? My mommy was the love of my life. I remember that night and it scares me. You are supposed to love people, not hurt and kill them. What you did was mean. You are mean, evil people.
In the end, Darnell Houston and Lamar McKnight were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Derrick Williams, who was only 15 at the time of the murder, was sentenced to 40 years to life in prison. While a little girl showed no fear when confronting her mother's killers, what happens when a convict gets attacked by 2 grieving sons? Like in the case of Dale Williams, who is facing murder charges in Youngstown, Ohio. In June 2017, Williams ran his ex-girlfriend Elizabeth Pledger Stewart's car off the road, causing it to crash. He then shot and killed the 46-year-old mother of 2. After his arrest, Williams pleaded guilty to aggravated murder and weapons charges. Facing the possibility of life in prison, the 62-year-old appeared at his sentencing, where the victim's 2 sons decided to deliver some justice of their own. 30-year-old Anthony Dees jumped across a table, evaded the deputies, and dragged Williams down by his feet. Then, 23-year-old Jerome Stewart ran over to help his brother, and the two delivered a barrage of punches and kicks to the defendant. As deputies struggled to contain the brothers, one officer pulled out a taser and shot Stewart. Williams was escorted from the courtroom as he wiped the blood off his face. Finally, the 2 aggrieved sons were arrested and removed from the courtroom. They later faced charges of assault, contempt of court, and obstruction of justice. As for Williams, he was later sentenced to 23 years to life in prison for murdering his ex-girlfriend. While Dale Williams was viciously assaulted by the sons of the woman he killed, what happens when a mother rips into the defendant?
I want to rip you limb from limb.
Like in the case of 30-year-old Jared Chance, who was on trial for a gruesome murder in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
You, sir, in my mind, are a very evil individual. You are clearly a monster without any conscience.
In December 2018, Jared murdered and mutilated the body of his girlfriend, 31-year-old Ashley Young. 3 days after Ashley went missing, police arrived at Jared's rented apartment after a neighbor complained of a foul smell.
Police on a search warrant! Come to the door! Come on down. Hands on top of your head. We're gonna call him right into that kitchen. Right? Hands on your head! We're gonna...
Okay, the tarp is laying on the stairs, about the last 3 stairs.
They found Ashley's torso in the basement, hidden under a tarp. Her head, hands, and feet were never found.
Her arms were severed, her legs were severed, her hands were severed from her arms, her feet were severed from her legs. Found packaged in a box on the stairwell leading up to the defendant's apartment.
Police later found a power saw at Jared's parents' home, which they believed was used to dissect the body. Jared was arrested and charged with murder and mutilation and disfigurement of a body.
Putting the seatbelt around you, all right?
He pleaded not guilty and refused to reveal a motive or the location of Ashley's remaining body parts. Then, after a trial that lasted just 3 days, Jared was found guilty of second-degree murder and a host of other charges. At sentencing, Ashley's mother, Christine Young, carried her daughter's ashes in a box as she confronted her killer.
This is what's left of my daughter. If I want a hug, I have to hug a box and close my eyes and pretend that she is hugging me back. You had no right to take her from me, to take her from her family. I want to rip you limb from limb and discard you like trash, like what you did to Ashley.
When Ashley disappeared, the worried mother had contacted Jared for support.
Do you remember texting me? I would never do anything to hurt her. I swear on my life, Ashley is my ride and die. Do you remember that?
Before imposing sentence, Judge Mark A. Trusog had a few harsh words for the defendant.
You, sir, in my mind, are a very evil individual. You are clearly a monster without any conscience whatsoever, and you are someone who is a danger to society and should never be allowed free. Accordingly, it is the sentence of this court with regards to the second-degree murder that you be committed to the Michigan Department of Corrections to serve a minimum of 100 years to a maximum of 200 years. I am purposely doing this so that you will not be eligible for parole until you are at least 130 years old.
Ultimately, Jared Chance was sentenced to 100 to 200 years in prison for the grisly murder of Ashley Young. Jared's parents were later charged for helping him cover up his tracks. Barbara Chance pleaded no contest and served 45 days in prison, while James Chance was convicted of accessory after the fact and sentenced to 1-year probation. While we may never know why Ashley Young was murdered, what happens when a mother confronts her son's murderers?
I hope y'all rot in hell.
We head to Jackson, Michigan for the murder trial of 19-year-old Jymario Dooley and 21-year-old Drewshawn Glaspie. In 2014, the two had hatched a plot to rob their friend, 20-year-old Philip Johnson Jr., of marijuana and cash. The robbery went horribly wrong, with Johnson being shot in the chest during a scuffle. He was later pronounced dead at the hospital. 2 other teenagers were involved in the incident. 19-year-old Khalil Davenport and 18-year-old William Houston pleaded guilty to unarmed robbery and were sentenced to 10 to 15 years in prison. Their confession led to the arrests of Dooley and Glaspie, who were eventually convicted for Johnson's death.
Glaspie as follows. Count 1, homicide, felony murder, guilty. Count 2, conspiracy to commit assault with intent to rob while armed, guilty. Count 3, assault with intent to rob while armed, guilty.
Then, during sentencing, the victim's mother, Jean Henderson, came face to face with her son's killer friends.
I got a call that my son was dead. In my heart, I knew you did it, Tristan. I knew y'all all grew up together. Me and your mom have a 20-year friendship. Then you had the audacity to call the house, saying you was fucked up about the situation. You send your condolence. It'd be a cold day in hell before I forgive either one of y'all. That's all I gotta say. I hope y'all rot in hell.
Ultimately, Jymario Dooley and Drewshawn Glaspie were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for murdering their friend, while a heartbroken mother bravely faced her son's killers. What happens when the person responsible for your child's death is your own boyfriend?
What can a 2-year-old possibly do to a grown-ass man where you want to take her life?
Like in the case of Ricky Whiteside, who was accused of murdering a toddler in Grand Rapids, Michigan. In April 2014, 30-year-old Whiteside was looking after his girlfriend Shaniqua Strickland's 2-year-old daughter, London Amir, while the mother was at work. When Shaniqua returned to the motel where the three were staying, she made a horrific discovery.
And I looked up as I walked in, and my daughter was in Ricky's arms. And, as I'm close to him, I'm like, what's wrong with her? And he's like, oh, she said it's hot. So I took her shirt off. Like, my baby is limp in his arms. And he's trying to tell me that my baby is okay, but I know for a fact my baby is not okay. My baby was foaming at the mouth, and she was just passed out like this, just in his arms.
Upon further questioning, Whiteside made a shocking revelation.
I asked him what he did, and he said that he just snapped. That's what he told me. He just snapped.
Is that all he said?
And his pride wouldn't let him tell the truth.
Baby London died days later at the hospital after suffering from severe blunt force trauma. Ricky Whiteside was arrested and charged with felony murder and first-degree child abuse. After a short trial, the jurors took just 2 hours of deliberation to reach a verdict.
Guilty of first-degree felony murder as charged.
During sentencing, a distraught mother bravely addressed her daughter's killer.
He took my baby, my everything from me. Him getting life in prison, he would bring my baby back. It would make me happy, no. But July 9th, I had to go to a graveyard to see my daughter. And she was supposed to be here with me. What can a 2-year-old possibly do to a grown-ass man where you want to take her life? So I don't have no mercy on him, and I hope he get everything, every bit of what he got coming to him. And I feel like he could burn in hell for all I care.
Finally, it was time for the child murderer to learn his fate.
Natural life without the possibility of...
Oh, thank you, Jesus. Amen. For real.
Ultimately, Ricky Whiteside was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for the death of baby London. While a mother in mourning bravely faced her toddler's killer, what happens when a child confronts his father's killer?
Why did he choose to do this? He shot me, gave my brother nightmares, and he took someone that was in the center of my heart.
Like in the case of 24-year-old Dezman Faqua, who's facing charges of first-degree murder in Detroit, Michigan. In June 2015, 28-year-old Christopher Reed was waiting at a Wendy's drive-thru with his 2 minor sons when Faqua approached them with a gun and demanded money and valuables. During the holdup, Reed was shot multiple times while his younger son was hit in the hand as he desperately tried to protect his father. Faqua fled with Reed's car, some cash, and a Rolex watch. Reed died at the hospital that night. Faqua was arrested after Reed's sons identified him, as did a jewelry store employee to whom he sold the Rolex. Faqua requested a bench trial, and after hearing all the evidence, Judge Shannon Walker convicted him of second-degree murder, carjacking, robbery, assault, and weapons charges. At sentencing, Reed's 9-year-old son bravely addressed the man who shot him and murdered his father.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. Sir Christopher, whenever you're ready.
Why did he choose to do this? He shot me, gave my brother nightmares, and he took someone that was in the center of my heart. Another bad guy off the street. Just think about it. Just think about what he did. He is going to cry his eyes out. And he actually did it. That was a bad idea. Now I have to live with it for the rest of my life.
Next was Reed's fiancée and the mother of his 2 sons.
Mere words can never explain. Because of the actions committed, Christopher will never be at his kids' birthdays, school plays, graduations, weddings, etc. So many plans and dreams were destroyed in just that one night, something that could never be forgiven. Christopher's children will live with this for the rest of their lives, which is exactly what we recommend and be deserved for this crime, life.
Faqua was also given a chance to speak for himself, where he continued to maintain his innocence.
feel remorseful for whatever happened to their family. I hope they can get past the situation and find the right person who did it.
Ultimately, Dezman Faqua was sentenced to 25 to 50 years in prison for the murder of Christopher Reed. While a little child bravely faced his shooter, how does it compare to laughing at a victim's blind sister?
Just so you know, he's laughing right now. I really don't care about this. You will be somebody's girlfriend, and that smile will no longer be on your face. It will be tears.
Like in the case of 27-year-old Tyrelle Webster, who is facing murder charges in Cincinnati, Ohio. In April 2012, Webster was arrested when he shot and killed 47-year-old Grover Watson after the two got into a heated argument. Webster was tried and convicted on 2 counts of murder and 1 count of having a weapon under disability. At his sentencing, Webster showed no remorse and was dismissive of the judge's questions.
And he was taken from us on my brother's birthday, which hurts very, very much.
Do that matter?
Yes, it does.
Then, Watson's sister, who was legally blind, took the stand. She initially looked to forgive her brother's killer.
But when I heard the story on the news, the first thing I did after I could close my mouth was just to ask God to forgive you, because you didn't know what you were doing.
But after Webster laughed and smiled at the grieving sister, her sorrow turned into anger.
Just so you know, he's laughing right now. I really don't care about this, because you know what, you laughing now, but the moment they get you behind those prison walls for the rest of your life, you will be somebody's girlfriend, and that smile will no longer be on your face. It will be tears.
Ultimately, Webster was sentenced to 18 years to life in prison for the murder of Grover Watson. While Tyrelle Webster was an unrepenting, disrespectful killer, what happens when a victim's father lunges at the defendant? Like in the case of 39-year-old Michael Madison, who's on trial for multiple murders in Cleveland, Ohio. In 2023, Madison allegedly kidnapped and killed 38-year-old Angela Deskins, 28-year-old Shatisha Sheely, and 18-year-old Sherelda Terry before dumping their bodies in plastic bags near his home in East Cleveland. Police also found decomposed human remains at his apartment.
There was evidence of decomposition fluid in several parts of the apartment building. There were maggots that were attached to the decomposition fluid.
Madison was arrested and charged with 3 counts of aggravated murder. If convicted, he could be facing the death penalty.
Michael, you got anything to say? Got anything to say to Anthony Sowell?
At his trial, the defense claimed the murders were spontaneous and in the heat of the moment.
He made no effort to bury these bodies and really conceal them, despite the fact that they're in fairly obvious areas.
However, the prosecution argued that Madison's actions were calculative and premeditated.
Same way, at the same place, and in a short time frame. Then he disposed of their bodies. To avoid detection from his crimes, he tied 2 of the victims up with duct tape, placing their legs on each side of their head and bending the body in half.
Eventually, Madison was found guilty of all charges as the victim's family members cried tears of joy. During sentencing, Sherelda's father, Van Terry, addressed his daughter's killer.
Right now, I guess we're supposed to, in our hearts, forgive this clown who's touched our families, taken my child.
He looked straight at Madison, who grinned at him off camera. This is when the grieving father exploded. Fortunately, Terry was quickly apprehended and taken out of the courtroom. He did not face any additional charges. A short while later, Judge Nancy McDonnell addressed the defendant.
I am struck by the sheer inhumanity of what one human being can do to not one, but 3 human beings. You went on to abuse the of these 3 victims. You stripped them from the waist down. You folded them in half.
Finally, it was time for the serial killer to learn his sentence.
Accordingly, the sentence of death is imposed upon the defendant, Michael Madison, on counts 1, 4, and 7.
Ultimately, Michael Madison received the death penalty. He continues to live on Ohio's death row.